good job.
Courage under fire.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's them.
Amazing.
I mean, they're flying.
Yeah, yeah, they're not going slowly.
They're not going slowly.
11 seconds lost to Kale, when Kale is not driving slowly. So, big up to Martin Yavayova. He has really done a good job there. Amazing job. And at the end of the stage, you could see the smile on Ott's face.
Look at that pace.
Yeah, well done, my
Just
friend.
look at that.
Yeah.
Broken intercom.
Yeah.
So the communication between the driver and his co-driver is completely
hear my voice.
Finished. You
can't hear the voice. Look at the end, how happy he was at him. You know, can you see Ott smiling?
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah. And
yes,
even he's smiling because he knows what kind of job he did.
Scott Martin puts in a smile.
Martin Yavayova.
Sorry, Martin Yavayova, puts in a smile.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Amazing.
Perfect shift.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Incredible. So, navigator, rally driver, in fact, we have this discussion as to which is more technical, you know, which is a debate, which is more technical, Formula One or WRC, and maybe slightly biased, although I'm a fan of both.
Yes.
But I think WRC is completely, you have to be on your toes from the word go. An F1 car, you know, you're driving at a higher speed, you're going around corners fast, but the corners, the road is all constant. Apart from, of course, tire degradation.
You don't need any navigation.
Yeah. And of course, trying to pass people. But in a rally car, especially on the Safari, the car is never still. You're hopping up and down, you know. The car is being thrown from right to left. You could travel over the same piece of road in a different sector of the road. You know what I mean?
Yes.
This time you're on the left, this time you're on the right. So the preparation for the corner is different. All these calculations are going on in your head. And so I think WRC is probably a little more technical than F1.
So 11 seconds generally won't affect their...
Well, this is Safari. If this was any other event, the game over. But this is the Safari. So one bad mud storm where people get stuck in a mud hole. One bad rocky garden.
Yes.
And changes everything. So I think by the end of today, end of Sleeping Warrior 2 today, the end of day, we'll have an idea. That is not to negate tomorrow's stages. Tomorrow's stages are also very dramatic. And we are in the rainy season.
Especially Hell's Gate, eh?
Yes, and could also be wet. So it's not over. It's not over until we get back to the podium.
There's this, I'll call it a competition or just friendly competition.
Yeah.
Or a bit of fun that we had last year. And you warned us about having it, even though you participated in it.
Yeah.
Eventually, it was... This year, I've predicted that Color of Ampera will win the rally. I did that yesterday morning. I put in my quote unquote, my bet. I'm hinging on him. Earlier, when we spoke off camera, you mentioned who you think will win. I don't want to mention on your behalf. Are you still there, or who do you think will win this rally?
Being somebody who is in the sport, I have some maybe soft spots for some of the guys.
Yes.
I'm definitely a Toyota fan. I have supported Toyota since the days of Juha Kankkunen, since the days of Bjorn Waldegard, the late. So I'm a Toyota fan.
Yes.
But I would really like Thierry Neuville to have some good luck. He's I think one of the most experienced rally drivers.
Yes.
Probably one of the most successful rally drivers who has never won the WRC Drivers' Championship. So I think he's due. You know, when you put in the time, you know, they say like work. If you put in the work, you're due the success.
Yes.
I think Thierry is due the success. He's stuck with Hyundai, and it just seems that it doesn't come together for him for whatever reason. So I am a Toyota fan.
Yes.
I'd like any of the Toyota drivers to win, but I definitely am rooting for Thierry. I hope Thierry can do well.
So you hope, but do you think he'll win?
You know, I don't know. This is
so
Safari.
You're dying with him?
This is Safari. I don't know,
Ah, that's cool. Wonderful stuff. Now, Sleeping Warrior. They're heading there.
Yeah.
Sleeping Warrior 1.
Very tough stage.
And yes, that's where we ended our first session. There was a debate about Carl Tundo saying Kedong is for him the toughest stage. But he's a bit of a lone ranger in that, because most people say Sleeping Warrior. And in an interview, Takamoto Katsuta, this morning session, said that he reckons Sleeping Warrior is, and I want to quote him now,
terrible.
Horrible.
I think Carl is a very experienced driver here in Kenya, which means, and this is my assumption, I could be wrong, I think he knows Sleeping Warrior very well. He knows where to push and he knows where not to push. So maybe for him, he feels it's not it's an event, it's a stage that he can motor through at a relatively high speed with relatively little consequences. Everybody else thinks that Sleeping Warrior is a terrible stage. It's the kind of stage that can rain. It's a long stage, rocks lacking in the bushes, meaning you just need to get off your line slightly to get your tires shredded. So it's a tough stage, and if there's rain down there, you know, I feel for the drivers in the cars. It's a tough stage.
I'm actually on the WRC FIA's, the FIA World Rally Championship Facebook page right now, and it says that, and I quote, Elfyn Evans has plummeted from 2nd to 5th overall after he was forced to stop and change a wheel during Saturday's opening stage at Soisambu. End of quote. So you can see there the effects of a guy who started so well in the morning. He was actually 2nd placed, wasn't he?
I think if Evans can just keep his cool, these times are obviously not the gaps that you have in any other WRC event, but this is the Safari. Anything can happen. Keep your cool, keep motoring. You know, you never know by end of day where he lies,
Yes.
The guys in front can catch the trouble. You know, we say that in the Safari, everybody catches trouble. It's just a matter of where you're going to catch it. And so, you know, if you're very unlucky, the guys at the top have had, I mean, Kale's had a trouble-free run.
Yes.
Not wishing him anything, but you never know. You never know. Although, a bit scaringly for everybody else, Kale has shown some he's shown some experience beyond his years by the pace that he's going at today.
Yes.
He's not driving like yesterday. In fact, he lost some time in the stages, I think 7 seconds to Neuvel. And so
which he can afford to lose.
Of course, he's almost a minute ahead.
Yes.
But that is thinking that must take place. That is planning that must take place. That I'm a minute ahead. Do I need to drive at 110% or 100%? No, maybe I can drive at 75%. Because a minute is, as much as it's not a long time in Safari, it's still a minute.
It's still a minute.
So everybody else has to be driving at that 100% to try and catch him. He can play the waiting game today.
Yes.
Keep the car safe, keep the car happy, and you never know what happens.
So it's a bit like boxing.
It is,
definitely. Let me hold, and I'll push in the 4th round or something and knock this guy out in the 6th.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have to get to the 11th round.
You have to pace yourself.
You have to pace yourself. They do that in soccer as well.
I like press high. I think for Kenya, the better analogy is marathon. Where at, you know, kilometer 10, Eliud decides, now I'm going to kill these guys. So he ups his pace, you know, starts running at a, 800-meter pace.
Oh, God.
For, maybe 5Ks. By that time, he has dropped the whole field.
Yes.
So maybe that's what Kale did yesterday. You know, he decided, especially Kedong, 11 seconds faster than anybody else. So that was his 10 kilometers of Eliud, Now he's ahead.
Yes.
Everybody else has to catch up.
So today he can cool run.
So today he can go back to his normal pace, watch what everybody else is doing. And everybody else has to drive that much faster in worse conditions to try and catch up. So it's all about management and figuring out what you want to do.
Wow. So there's still hope for Elfyn Evans.
But he's thinking beyond his years. He's still a very young man.
And for Kala, so he knows what he's doing.
Exactly. You know, young men are hot-blooded. The car is working.
Yeah, that's my concern about him.
The pace is there, so it's actually very difficult for him to tone it down slightly.
Two fair points you've made there that sort of intertwine. There's hope for Elfyn Evans, even after dropping some seconds, or because of issues beyond his control.
Exactly,
And then for Kala Rovanpera, for issues within his control, he's also dropped strategic.
No rally
so
driver
they're playing around time,
No rally driver wants to drive slower. They want to drive faster, especially when things are working.
Yes.
So I'm sure, Haltunen is in the car telling him, no, you don't need to cut that corner that fast, This, take it a bit more easier.
Yes.
And so, he's got a minute in hand. The other guys are the ones who have to up their game to close that minute. So that is experience. That is showing a good head on his shoulders.
Okay, just to deviate a bit, but very important. Yesterday, obviously, we paid our tributes to the late Kenjiro Shinozuka, who passed on the 18th, Monday the 18th of this month.
Yes.
And you've, apart from being a navigator, you've been a rally fan from way back in the day. And these are probably some of the guys who inspired you to into rallying. Shinozuka, the great Japanese rally driver.
I remember him fondly driving the Mitsubishi Galant. before they became evolutions. They were called there was the Charisma, there was the Gallant, and he drove those for quite a while and quite successfully. So, you know, condolences to his family and to all fans and friends. He was a great part of the Safari Rally story.
Yes.
And I'm sure will be remembered fondly by all.
Brilliant. Now that you've taken us to our next point, which I want us to touch on rather briefly, the Skoda vehicle.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand. They know of Ford, they know of Hyundai, they know of Toyota, but this Skoda vehicle, people don't know whether it's actually a vehicle brand on its own, or it's some Toyota Skoda.
No.
You know what I mean? Hyundai Skoda. Yeah.
Skoda is a car that came out of the former Soviet Union states, if I'm not wrong. I think the Czech Republic now, and has been in operation for many years. And so what you're seeing now, I mean, I think...
Kajetanovic.
Yeah, just even rally cars generally. I think Skoda is one of the more popular WRC2 car, and even just national rally car. I mean, we've had Skodas here. People like the Rise have driven Skodas. Manvir Barian has driven Skodas. So Skoda is a car on its own. Been here for a long time. It's a European mark, and they seem to have found a niche in rallying. And so, but also in Europe there are cars that are, I mean, it's like any other car. I was very surprised one of my first trips to Europe, and I saw that, you know, the cars there, the number of makes that they have there. We are very, I think we lean towards Japan quite a lot, but there are so many marks that exist that are not here. So it's a brilliant car. Skoda has shown that it's a car that rallies well in the national championship, and it seems the package that they give their customers is a good one. So
and actually Kajetanovic, whom I have just mentioned earlier, is doing quite well on WRC2.
Yeah.
With
he was here last year.
Skoda, and he's second place.
Yeah, he won that competition last year. So
WRC2, yes, with the Skoda.
With the Skoda, yeah.
Yes.
And so he looks like he's enjoying himself. Safari, like I say, it's a brilliant event for the visitors.
Yes.
They not only come to enjoy the rallying, but they enjoy the scenery. You know, the top guys, Neuvel and who are all in the Mara 2-3 days before the event, and so they're really enjoying their time here in Kenya.
Sticking to the vehicles, but now another aspect, the mechanic side.
Yeah.
We have this guy. He's an old guy. He died about 96 years of age last year. And he's a Kenyan veteran mechanic. His name was Mr. OS Butler.
OS Butler, okay.
Do you know of the Butler family and their contribution to the mechanic side of things in Safari Rally?
You'll have to teach me today. I'm not aware.
Okay, good. He used to really be into fixing vehicles and that sort of thing, and at some point he was involved in the Safari Rally in fixing vehicles with his late son Sammy Butler. Yeah, so you may not remember Sammy because he died years ago, but his father OS Butler lived for quite a while. So I thought maybe having been a navigator, you may have come across the name. At least.
Today you have trumped me.
No.
You have trumped me. I have not heard of the Butlers.
No, it's not a competition. I haven't trumped you. It's just about sharing knowledge.
Yeah. In fact, when you were talking about that, I thought you were talking about Jim Heather Hayes, who also passed away last year, I think. And the description that you gave was Jim Heather Hayes.
Wow.
And so, yeah, he was a legend, a driver.
Was it his sister or wife was into rally driving as well?
No, himself.
It's himself.
He was he started off rallying as
yes, himself. He was a rally driver, I know. But was his sister or wife involved in rallying?
Jim Heather Hayes was the driver. Started off as a driver in the days of the old Safari.
Yes.
And then up till his death, he was a mechanic. And he serviced the car for Ian Duncan, if I'm not wrong. He was famous for his work with shock absorber systems.
Yes.
So, I mean, he was part of we grew up with his name. You know, Jim Heather Hayes in the old days was
I remember.
Drove what was called chase cars. I don't know whether you understand the concept of chase cars. A chase car in the old days.
In matters of presidential security protocol,
no.
I know what a chase car is.
Rally car, chase car. In the old days, you know, today service only your cars in the service park.
Yes.
In the old days, because you are traveling
all
far
over
away,
the place, yes.
The teams would bring, for every competition car, they would bring another identical car. And that car's work was to carry the parts. And that car's work was to chase the rally car. And that's why they were called chase cars. Meaning,
yes,
Vic Preston would be in front in his Toyota, and Jim Heather Hayes would be behind him in a completely identical car. So that when Preston's car broke down, the chase car would catch up with them, and whatever that part that had broken down, they would remove from the chase car.
Yes.
And that's why they were called chase cars.
But there was also Mary Heather Hayes, back in the day, the pioneer rally drivers.
Okay, could be his mother.
Could that have been his mom?
That could be his mother, yeah.
Whom I thought maybe was a sister or a wife, but yeah.
Could be his mother. Could be his mother, yeah. Could be
and
his
she was co-driven by Lucille Cardwell.
That could be his mother, probably his mother, yes. But definitely before my time.
Oh, okay, yes. And obviously there was Mary Wright and Juanita Barton. These were the pioneer
Safari
Kenyan ladies who got into rallying. We're talking of years ago, decades ago.
Yes. Even Rob Collins. Rob Collins, famously of the Kenya Jew Range Rover. His mother used to be involved in motorsport.
Yes.
In the olden days, there was quite a lot of motorsport that occurred, especially around what is now called Langa Langa. And in fact, I think Langa Langa, yes, in Nakuru.
Yes, in Nakuru.
Langa Langa came from the name, the cars, yeah? And there were even hill climbs that they would do in, I think, Red Hill. And we're talking about maybe the 50s, the 40s. At the Simba Union Club, they used to have motorcycle competitions. This is in the 1930s, 1940s. They are old pictures. So motorsport is not new. It's not a new concept here in Kenya. It was started quite a long time ago. I think the Langa Langa track even, we are probably talking in the 1920s. I think I have seen a picture of a Model T Ford. Model T Ford is a vehicle that was, I think, operating in the 1920s. And I've seen a picture of a Model T Ford watching a race at Langa Langa. And so that must be in the region of 1920, 1930s.
Okay, before we now touch on the Talanta Motorsports Academy, you remember last year we were actually vouching for such academy to be formed, and we concluded our rally with that clarion call, that, and then a year later we have that. Just to wrap up on families that have been involved in this sort of thing, the Gatimos. There's young Tinashe and her mom Caroline.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
First of all, big up to them. I'd like to wish them all the best. I was actually in school with Caroline Gatimo.
Really?
Yes, we
classmates,
were in primary school together. I think I was ahead of her.
What primary school was that? Nairobi Primary School. Yes, okay.
Very big up for her. This is transition we are watching. This is handing over the mantle to the new generation. I think one of the key problems we have globally, not just Africa, is transition. We never prepare for transition, be it in politics, be it in sport.
Business.
So what Caroline and her husband Mindo are doing, amazing, amazing. Tinashe, we wish you all the best. I'm really praying that you're the next Michel Mouton. And hopefully you guys get a good finish on this event. Put it in the bag as experience. So, yeah, you know, transition, Talanta Hela, the Rallying Academy, the Sports Academy, this is about that. If you look at the teams that who do well globally, McLaren F1 signed Hamilton when he was 14. You know, they signed him when he was 14. He came up to the ranks up to Formula One. If you look at the football teams, Kenyans love football. Manchester United has a junior team, has how many junior teams? Has an academy.
They have an academy.
Guys who start off there, age 9. Age 9, excuse me.
Yes.
Age 9, through their teens, they go to school and they play football. So by the time you're looking at the Anthony's, you know, by the time you're looking at the, you know, the stars who are scoring goals for the first team, these guys have been part of that ecosystem for a very long time. So anything has to be about that preparation. And that preparation starts when you're young, you know, and it's obvious when you see guys winning top championships, you know, they don't look like they're surprised because they know they were due it, you know, they've put in the work, they've started this thing off as they were children, And so Talanta Hela and the Sports Academy is definitely working in the right direction. Wish them all the best.
But we have a problem when we start off very well. We know how to launch this kind of things.
Yeah.
But then the management, the running of the thing in the mid and long term becomes an issue. Is that an area that should concern us right now?
Well, you know, we are human beings and we live in the society that we have. And, you know, because things have happened in the past, we can't also say that they will happen in the future. You know, I say the ball has started rolling. When the ball comes to you, kick it, you know. You do your part and let the others worry about theirs. It's a very good concept. It's a good project. It's a step in the right direction. Kudos to CS Babu. And, you know, let's support him where we can. You know, I always say, you know, Safari is ours. Yes. Safari doesn't belong to any one individual. You know, if Safari fails, Kenya fails. You know, if Safari does well, we do well. So I know we all want Kenya to do well. So you know, let's wacha tuwaunge mkono. You know, let them do well. And so if you can have young guys coming up through those kind of schemes, you know, the future of sport in this country is you know, it's bright. So we have hope. I would say let's just stick to it. Of course, everything is tweaking. Everything is tweaking. Before we went on air, we were talking about Proton and Nyayo Pioneer. You know, Nyayo Pioneer was sort of laughed out of existence because of various reasons. It wasn't a very good car. Neither was Proton at that time. But you see, that was version 1. Think about Windows 98. You know, you get version 1. Version 1 is the base. Now you start to tweak it. 1.2, 1.3, version 2. So if Nyayo Pioneer was still in operation, this would be what, 30, 40 years down the line, we'd be talking about version what? 4 or 5 years ago, Carl Tundo and Alistair Kavanagh were importing Protons from Proton, the same car that started off life with Nyayo Pioneer. They were importing them into Kenya because they were building top flight rally cars, you know. So when you start, let's accept that you start at the bottom. You don't start at the top.
Yes.
Start at the bottom, and you have a goal. You must keep going to this goal, regardless of what's going on right now. Keep going to the goal. The academy has started now, and of course we can all say why it's not perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. If we all hold hands and all put in our positive input, where will it be in 30 years? You know,
what sort of features would you expect as a rally navigator and enthusiast to see when you go there for a visit? They are only here in Kasarani, like a museum, for example, 1 or 2 statues of someone like Patrick Njiru, with a summary, just a brief summary of who he is, what he achieved in rallying, to inspire these 9-year-olds you're talking of who are coming into...
And this is something that even KBC can play a role in, because I'm sure you guys, your archives are rich. I hope you have all the old tapes and all the old footage that you have taken all through the years. That is something that needs to be collated, maybe even sold as tapes or, I mean, as CDs, because I can imagine the wealth of information that is kept in the you know, archives of KBC, of VOK. You know, we used to watch it when it was VOK. And
Voice of Kenya.
Exactly. So
the precursor to KBC.
The precursor. It's still KBC.
It's still KBC, but
you see, in fact, going back to what I was saying, VOK was version 1.
Yes.
You know, KBC now is version 2. So can only get better. If some of that footage can be collated to be used in all these, you know, the new platforms that we have digital format today. I mean, first of all, it can be a stream of revenue for you guys because you can sell them. But that will be now the connection with the past. You know, a lot of that stuff is available on YouTube. I mean, amateurs put it together. But video and clips and audio like that could be placed in such an academy.
Yes, yes.
So that at least you know where we have come from. You know, they say you don't know where you are until you know where you've come from.
Yes, yes, yes.
Or you don't know where you're going. So that is a good suggestion. And I'm happy you're the one who has suggested it, because you guys are the keepers of that history. You know, you guys have every record here. And so I would also like to see more exposure, especially even to the counties, you know, to the colleges, to the polytechnics.
So you have more branches of the same.
Exactly.
What you have in Kasarani, you take to the counties.
Programs started out in the counties that could also, you know, help the youngsters who are out there. You know, I always say that when you expose, when you have a larger pool of people is when you find the stars. If you go to SA, everybody in SA plays golf. Golf is not an elite game the way it's seen here in Kenya. And that's why you find guys who want really on the trajectory of playing golf, start finding golf. Because a game like golf, and probably most games, there's usually some born affinity towards it. You know what I mean?
That's
Somebody
why
who has a
come here and
natural
win
talent.
the Kenya Open,
Exactly.
and we're not winning it.
Somebody who has a natural talent. But that guy could live in a place where there's no golf.
Yes.
So if you expose them to all these things, you're going to find the guys who have the natural talent, you know? And what happens in 10 years? What happens in 5 years? And one thing we must do is have a long view. Let's not have the short view we have. Just because it didn't work in 4 years, maybe it's going to work in year 5, you know? So let's have a long view. Let's expose as many people as possible to all these different types of sports. And you never know when we find our star. And they're out there. Can I show you they're out there?
And funny, one thing is that also last year, we spoke about e-gaming in relation to the Safari Rally. And I saw they've got those e-gaming machines at the Talanta Motorsports Academy. So it's a way also of making the learning process fun for kids.
Exactly. You know, a lot of times also the drivers, even Formula 1 drivers use simulators. And what are those e-games basically? They are simulators. So you are stepping in the right direction. You're starting to feel in that way. You're starting to understand how things work. And so it's, in fact, yesterday we were driving back and my friend Leo and his son were telling us how they had gone to the village market and were driving. There's an F1 simulator there. And so we were asking the boys, so do you think you can beat us? And you know, the two boys, without even batting an eyelid, said, you Muzes will chapa you anytime. So expose these young guys, and they take it to places where us oldies would not even think about. But it's all about that transition.
And even that e-gaming, it's not just for the kids, because even established rally drivers like Kala Rovanpera, he would benefit from it. You told me they have instinct training. Yes, that helps, doesn't it?
This
the
reflex training.
The reflex training.
And Kala, if I'm not wrong, has taken part in esports. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's done esports and he's very good at it. So these are just the new mediums, the new forums.
So this thing is like a treadmill in its own way.
It is. Any sort of exposure you can get, it just bodes well for you when you actually get it.
Before you get onto the racetrack,
you have an idea what's going on.
You treadmill on an e-game machines.
Most people new to rallying will tell you, when they got in that car, there was a lot of hype. Yes, we are going to rally, you put on your helmet and you really feel good about it. But when you're in that car and the red numbers are going from 5, 4, 3, is when you start asking yourself serious questions. You know, what am I doing here? Am I cut out for this? So the more exposure you have to it, the more you can see whether it's on a simulator or not, what's going to happen, the better for you. You know, as we learned in the old days when there were no esports,
this facility,
there was no academy. We entered our car. Our first rally car was a Golf VW GTI. We entered, me and Leo. All we had was hat. We had rojo. We keep saying till today all we had was rojo. But
and you finished.
The first rally, did we finish? I think we finished, but we got so lost. You know, I think I was lost from the first go. But that was version 1, like you keep saying.
So whose fault was it? You as the navigator?
Both of us. Of course, navigation is direction is a navigator's work.
Yes.
But you can't take an average Kenyan kid out of a middle-class home, put him in a rally car and expect him to call notes like Martin Yaveova, can you? No. I have to learn. So it's I think also people need to, first of all, enjoy it.
Yes.
Don't do something because others are doing or you want to get in it and then it's uncomfortable. You know, do it, enjoy it first of all. You must enjoy it. If you are enjoying it, then it's not like work. It's not like something difficult. You are enjoying it. And every challenge you'll meet, it will be a learning experience. It's not like if you enter and it's stressful and you're shouting at each other. I mean, I've seen crews. You have seen crews even almost come to blows. And you ask, man, are you guys, first of all, enjoying this? Is this something you want to do, or did circumstance throw you together? It's very important, first of all, your friends, and you know, the basic thing you're doing here is having fun first. You know, if we do a good time, if we do a good run, all the better. But the main thing is we're having fun.
Yep, this is day 3 of the FIA WRC Safari Rally Kenya edition 2024. Saturday's itinerary, local time, the first vehicle was flagged off at 8:01 a.m. today. That was at Soisambu 1, which is a 29.32 kilometer stretch. And the second stage, 9:05 a.m., that's when the first vehicle was flagged off. Elementaita 1, which is much shorter than the previous stage, is 15.08 kilometers. And then there was the third stage, which is actually been more or less sorted out right now by the drivers, if they haven't finished it already. Sleeping Warrior 1, 36.08 kilometers. And then we are looking at what's in store, Kego, in the afternoon. You've got Soisambu 2, 29.32 kilometers. You've got Elementaita 2, 15.08 kilometers. And you've got Sleeping Warrior 2, 36.08 kilometers. So Soisambu 1, Soisambu 2, same stretch in terms of kilometers. Same for Elementaita 1 and Elementaita 2, Sleeping Warrior 2. Sleeping Warrior 1 and Sleeping Warrior 2, I beg your pardon. So all same range.
Yeah, it's the same three stages.
It's the same stages.
Same three stages looped. You do them twice.
Do you do them the other way round, or you do them the same way you did them?
Exactly the same way. Exactly the same way.
So what's the idea of doing behind doing the same stage twice?
This is modern rallying. This is how it is. That's why there are those who, the non-purists, or the purists, let's say, who complain that, you know, it has become small, it has become short. But I'm telling you, man, you jump in one of those cars and do Sleeping Warrior and tell me whether it was a short stage. It's still very tough. Very tough, very, very, very difficult. Of course, you can't compare it with 5,000 kilometers in 5 days. But transition again, you know, evolution again. Those days are gone. You know, we are rallying in this dispensation. I can assure you, 2 loops of those 3 stages, you're finished by the end of the day. You're completely finished.
Physically?
Oh, yes. Completely finished and mentally. Yes, yes. And then if you add that you've had problems, you've had to get out of the car to fix punctures, you've had to get out of the car to push, maybe if you're stuck in mud, it's crazy. It's terrible.
Because it comes to 160 stage kilometers in total.
Yes, yes. And as the cars pass, you know, the road changes, you know. Even if there's no rain, even if there's no rain, the cars, the roads get more rutted. If there is rain, even worse.
160 kilometers.
Yeah, if there's rain, you could have water sitting, meaning what you could see, you can no longer see. And you come up to a stretch where you knew it was slow rocks, suddenly it's covered by water, you can't see the rocks. What happens? You know?
And it's amazing. Yeah. When you talk of the surface, because yesterday I noticed they had like poured sand on some areas. I think there had been light showers, so it's a bit slippery.
Yesterday the stage in Kedong, is obviously the surface of the road has been altered, because that is all fesh. You remember fesh?
What's fesh?
Fesh is like, the texture is exactly like unga wangano.
Oh.
But this is muchanga, meaning that when 1 or 2 cars goes through it, it actually acts like water. It can actually hold you, it can stick you like water. So what they have done, they have put maram on top of it and some kogoto, some rocks, so that the road, at least condition, becomes passable. Because once 3, 4, 5, 10 cars go over a fesh section, you're driving over unga, you're driving over the texture of unga. You come out, you step out of the car and the unga comes up half your leg. It's that soft. So you can imagine driving in that stuff. And that's why they have to fix the roads. They have to try and fix the roads. Also, you don't want all the cars to get stuck. You remember in the first event, the first safari in 2 years ago, Kale got stuck in the fesh.
2021?
Yes. Kale got stuck in the fesh. He had to be towed out by one of the quick response vehicles. So...
is that why he didn't win the safari?
Yeah. But also his first time in Kenya.
In 2020. Yeah.
First time they had driven in fesh. In fact, fesh became a very popular term that year, because they had never heard of it. Fesh is unique to Kenya.
I've never heard of it as well.
Fesh is a rallying term, they'll tell you. You never heard the term fesh?
No.
Fesh is a rallying term. It describes that surface that has turned into almost flour.
Yes.
And so conditions are terrible. It gets in all your intakes, it just disturbs everything, can hold the car. You stop in that, you stick, you're like in water.
Mm.
And if it's grabbed the bottom of the car, you're not going anywhere.
So the WRC Safari Rally resumed in 2021 after a 19-year hiatus. We had been relegated to the African Rally Championship, but then we went back up again after a lot of persuasion from the government of Kenya. At the time was led by President Uhuru Kenyatta. So we also pay our gratitude to the previous president, the immediate previous president, for getting us back onto the World Rally Championship calendar.
And don't forget Phineas Kimathi and his team.
And his team.
Yeah, those guys came in with a with a very clear plan of what they wanted. And I can assure you, the first time he made his speech when he became chairman of KMSF and stated that one of his goals, in fact, top priority of his goals, was going to be WRC Safari status. Many people didn't think he was being serious. But here we are.
And Ambassador Amina as well. She was CS for sports
lots of time, lots of campaigning, lots of effort. It wasn't easy.
No,
I took part in some of those meetings.
Okay, what was that like?
It wasn't easy. We had to make a lot of assurances as to finances, as to manpower. We sent a lot of people for training with the FIA. A lot of the guys you see on the route with the reflector jackets have actually received specialized training. They're not just volunteers in the way you think of a volunteer was collected from somewhere. These are guys who've traveled far away to observe events. They have taken part in trainings. They have certifications for that training. So all that happened behind the scenes before the event came to Kenya. And so those are the guys who really, and there were setbacks. It wasn't a smooth run.
Oh yes, definitely.
There were setbacks.
And obstacles.
Exactly. But they learned from them. They made them stronger. They made them even more determined to have the event here in Kenya. But I can assure you, even the promoter himself, with the numbers that he sees, of the viewership, of the following, of the interest in WRC after Safari came back, he knows that effort was an effort that needed to be done. There's no other event like Safari.
I agree with you.
Let's not pat ourselves too much.
If you look at the viewership from last year, the WRC site itself, that's online, how